Hey, Patrick. Okay, I've got your composition up right there. I was trying to get it fit in the window. And okay, I was looking at your writing. Everything makes good sense. Really good written description here. Um, Good setup. And I think kudos to you for taking this a kind of a different direction and doing a documentary. I think that adds an interesting approach. And I applaud the decision. As far as I know, you're the only one that went in that direction, so that's a good thing. Let's go ahead and take a look. I want to talk about a couple of things here, specifically the hand. I'll talk about all this, but let's go ahead and jump over to the poster. I think it's a great start. I think the first thing you notice here immediately when you look at it is that it's got a different vibe than a theatrical movie poster, and that's cool. I think that's cool, and I think the let me jump over here. Sorry about that. Okay. So I think the main, so you've got the visual going. Something is telling us that this is not a cinematic theatrical movie, right? It's cinematic, yes, but not a theatrical, piece. So it's definitely a documentary. And I think to reinforce that point, I would recommend just right down here underneath the elephants, after elephants, and before the quote, or even right up here in smaller type, just say a documentary, or even centered, a documentary, vanishing elephants. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. And that really immediately tells the viewer that, yes, you are not imagining things. This is a different type of movie poster. I think that the kerning, or the space between letters, we'll call it kerning or tracking. In this case, we'll call it tracking because it looks like you've increased the space between all the letters. And I think it works for the title, specifically because of its vanishing elephants. And it kind of mimics the space between the elephants and the logo. And I think that's kind of cool. But then I think that you take that whole extended kerning, or a wide tracking, too far. And this is tracked out too far. The distance, the space between letters here is too wide. The space between words is too wide, and especially down here in the credits. So I would recommend just bringing that kerning or tracking in, um, and just setting that more traditionally without the wide tracking. And then the same thing with the same more tight kerning or tracking with the a documentary, that subhead. Okay, as far as the piece goes on, while we're on typography, let's continue. So right down here, I think that it definitely looks like movie credits, but again, the letters are so far apart that it just doesn't work. And I think what's happening here is you're trying to build the type up, and you're missing all of this area right here and here. My recommendation here is to make the type, this specifically right here, a little more legible by bringing it down, packing it down a little bit tighter, and widening it. I don't mean widen the type. I mean add more type, and just add more information to really make that look solid as a movie credit. And if you want some examples, go ahead and take a look. Just do a quick visual Google image search on movie credits or movie posters and take a look at it to see how that's done. Okay, the other thing I want to mention is this area right here. So I think this is overdone right here. And the reason I say that is because I get what you're saying, and I get what you're doing. I get what you're communicating. It all makes sense to me. But this area right here is really densely packed, and it's creating a lot of what we call visual clutter. That's not a derogatory term. That's a term that refers to too much stimuli in one specific area of a composition is quite often referred to as visual clutter. And that, again, not derogatory, but meaning that there's just too much converging in one area, and it's impeding good flow of information. It's an impeding also visual hierarchy as well, as this area is so tightly packed. I think one interesting thing that you could do is, and it will still preserve the relationship, as you're saying, from farm to consumer. And what I would do is this, is I would reduce the size of this a little bit, this type area. Watch my cursor, something like this. Okay, maybe even smaller. Proportionally, I'm talking about everything, even when you add that little tagline, a documentary. And then, so we get that over to about right here. Okay, that's going to open up this area right here. And I think if we take this and move it up in the composition, so it has a relationship with the title and not necessarily the coffee shop itself, because that does look a little peculiar, that I think is going to work. You'll have to probably reduce the size of this this configuration here too. But so in summary there, reduce the title area, bring the this configuration up a little bit, maybe reduce this, watch your spatial relationships, figure out what works. This is likely going to entail having to use the clone stamp to clone out this lamp in the background. And that's okay, we don't need it. Clone stamp, if you're not sure how to do it, quick Google search how to remove items from a Photoshop document using the clone stamp or other tools. There are a couple of other tools. So really, really super. Photoshop makes things so easy. It's really easy to do. So anyways, go ahead and do that, and let's try those changes. I think it's going to work. Oh, also one other thing is really, really important is this hand down here should be in color. Definitely. It should definitely be in color, especially if we move it up here. I think it should most definitely be in color. And then I'm wondering if it wouldn't be more visually engaging to add color to that logo card that's on the coffee cup, and to actually, that logo card itself, I think would be interesting to add a little color to that. And then you could even come in here and sample a color out of this image, like the green or the orange or the yellow or something, and use accordingly. Try it, see what you think. All right, those are my recommendations. Great start here. Really good stuff. Love it. Okay, if you have any questions at all, let me know. I'll be glad to make any necessary clarifications. Thank you very much, Patrick.